Imagine entire armies trembling at the sight of a woman leading the charge. Picture queens who were also brilliant tacticians, defending their lands with unmatched ferocity. These aren't myths, they're the forgotten heroines of Africa, whose courage shaped civilizations and whose intelligence defended nations. Join us as we finally give voice to the incredible, untold stories of these formidable female warriors. Echoes of Unsung Valor, the untold stories of African female warriors. The narrative of African warfare is often steeped in the myth of male dominance, a Eurocentric lens that obscures the powerful presence of female warriors who shaped the continent's history. From ancient kingdoms to colonial resistance, African women wielded swords, led armies, and defied oppression, their stories largely erased or marginalized. Echoes of Unsung Valor seeks to shatter these misconceptions, unveiling the courage, strategy, and resilience of female combatants across diverse regions and eras. Their legacies challenge historical oversimplifications and demand recognition, revealing how these women not only fought for their communities but redefined power and agency, leaving an indelible mark on Africa's past and present. The stage for these warriors spans centuries and landscapes, from the savannas of West Africa to the highlands of Southern Africa. In ancient times, women like Queen Amanirenas of the Kingdom of Kush, circa 40 to 10 BCE, led military campaigns against Roman invaders, defending Nubia with tactical brilliance. Her one-eyed ferocity became legend, inspiring resistance across the region. In the 17th century, Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba, modern Angola, outmaneuvered Portuguese colonizers, forging alliances and commanding armies to preserve her people's sovereignty. Fast forward to the 19th century, the Dahomey Kingdom's Agojie, an all-female regiment, struck fear into enemies with their disciplined combat skills, earning comparisons to mythical Amazons. From Ethiopia's Empress Taytu Betul, who orchestrated victory at the Battle of Adwa in 1896, to South Africa's Nonkawas, whose spiritual leadership sparked anti-colonial resistance, these women defied gender norms across diverse kingdoms and colonial battlegrounds. These stories matter now more than ever, as they challenge the erasure of African women's contributions and offer lessons in resilience and leadership. The Agojie's rigorous training and loyalty reshaped perceptions of women in warfare, proving their strength rivaled any male army. Nzinga's diplomatic genius and guerrilla tactics preserved her nation's autonomy against overwhelming odds, demonstrating strategic intellect that influenced anti-colonial movements. Amanirena's defiance of Rome symbolized African sovereignty, inspiring later generations. These women were not anomalies but integral to their societies, often holding roles as queens, regents, or spiritual leaders. Their erasure from mainstream history reflects colonial biases that diminished African agency, particularly for women. By reclaiming their narratives, we confront these distortions and celebrate their profound impact on shaping political, cultural, and social landscapes. The promise of revelation lies in how these stories resonate today. They inspire modern movements for gender equality and cultural pride, showing African women as architects of their destinies. Their courage underpins ongoing struggles against systemic marginalization, reminding us that power is not bound by gender. Yet, many of their stories remain untold, buried in oral traditions or overshadowed by male-centric chronicles. Archaeological finds, like Nubian inscriptions praising Amanirenas, and oral histories of the Agojie, are slowly unveiling their valor. These discoveries demand we amplify African-led scholarship and preserve oral archives to ensure their legacies endure. Echoes of Unsung Valor calls us to honor these warriors by learning their names, sharing their stories, and challenging narratives that exclude them. From Amanirena's spear to Nzinga's diplomacy, their contributions shaped Africa's resilience and global history. As we uncover their truths, we affirm that Africa's past is a tapestry of diverse, powerful voices, women who fought, led, and inspired, leaving echoes that demand to be heard. Guardians of empires and communities, African female warriors. African female warriors, often sidelined in historical narratives, were pivotal guardians of their empires and communities, wielding strength, strategy, and leadership. The Dahomey Amazons, Queen Nzinga and Yaa Asantewaa exemplify this legacy, their stories shattering myths of male-dominated warfare. From the disciplined Agojie of Dahomey to Nzinga's defiance in Angola and Yaa Asantewaa's rebellion in Ashanti, these women were not mere fighters but architects of resistance, shaping their societies through courage and ingenuity. Their untold stories reveal the depth of African women's contributions to history. In the Kingdom of Dahomey, modern Benin, the Agojie, known as the Dahomey Amazons, were an elite all-female regiment that rose to prominence in the 18th and 19th centuries. Renowned for their fearsome reputation, these warriors underwent rigorous training from adolescence, mastering weapons like machetes and muskets while enduring grueling physical drills to build endurance and discipline. Sworn to celibacy and loyalty to the king, the Agojie, numbering up to 6,000 at their peak, were a formidable force, often leading military campaigns against neighboring states. Their nickname Amazons, coined by European observers, reflected their unparalleled combat prowess, with accounts describing them decapitating enemies with precision. Beyond warfare, they protected the royal palace and enforced Dahomey's trade dominance, particularly in the palm oil economy. The Agojie's critical role as both warriors and symbols of strength challenged gender norms, proving women could hold power in militarized societies. In 17th-century Angola, Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba emerged as a relentless force against Portuguese colonialism. Facing the slave trade's devastation, Nzinga combined strategic brilliance with diplomatic prowess to preserve her people's sovereignty. Initially negotiating with the Portuguese, she later led guerrilla campaigns when diplomacy failed, training her forces in hit-and-run tactics to outmaneuver better-armed colonizers. Nzinga's adaptability shone in her alliances with rival African groups and even Dutch traders, creating a coalition to resist European encroachment. Her iconic act of sitting on a servant's back during talks with a Portuguese governor when denied a chair symbolized her refusal to bow to colonial power. Ruling for nearly 4 decades, Nzinga's legacy as a warrior queen inspired anti-colonial movements across Africa, cementing her as a symbol of resistance and intellect. In early 20th century Ghana, Yaa Asantewaa, the Queen Mother of the Ashanti, led a defiant stand against British colonialism in the War of the Golden Stool, 1900. When the British demanded the sacred Golden Stool, the symbol of Ashanti sovereignty, Yaa Asantewaa rallied her people with a stirring speech, shaming hesitant male leaders and mobilizing a 20,000-strong army. At 60, she commanded the rebellion, organizing sieges against British forts with strategic foresight. Though ultimately captured and exiled, her leadership galvanized Ashanti pride and delayed British control, inspiring later independence movements. Yaa Asantewaa's courage as a queen mother, a revered role blending spiritual and political authority, underscored the power of women in Ashanti society. These warriors were guardians of their communities, their valor shaping empires and resisting oppression. The Agojie's discipline, Nzinga's diplomacy, and Yaa Asantewaa's defiance highlight African women's multifaceted roles as fighters, leaders, and cultural icons. Their stories, often preserved in oral traditions, demand amplification to counter colonial erasure. By celebrating these women, we honor their impact on African history and their enduring inspiration for global struggles against injustice. Beyond the battlefield, influence and ingenuity of African female warriors. African female warriors, such as the Dahomey Amazons, Queen Nzinga, and Yaa Asantewaa, were not only formidable on the battlefield but also wielded profound spiritual, political, and societal influence. Their roles as military leaders often intertwined with spiritual guidance and strategic diplomacy, showcasing a multifaceted ingenuity that reshaped their communities. By employing unconventional tactics like espionage and psychological warfare, these women defied expectations, while their bravery left lasting imprints on gender roles and societal norms. Their stories, rooted in resilience and innovation, illuminate the broader impact of African female warriors beyond mere combat. The dual roles of these women as spiritual and political powerhouses amplified their authority. Yaa Asantewaa, as the Ashanti Queen Mother, held a revered position as both a political strategist and spiritual custodian. In 1900, her rallying cry to defend the Golden Stool, the Ashanti's sacred symbol of unity, drew on her spiritual authority to inspire a 20,000-strong rebellion against British colonialists. Her ability to unite warriors through cultural reverence showcased the Queen Mother's role as a moral and tactical leader. Similarly, Queen Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba blended spiritual symbolism with political acumen. Her dramatic act of sitting on a servant's back during negotiations with the Portuguese in the 1620s was not just defiance but a calculated display of power, rooted in her status as a divine ruler. The Dahomey Agojie, while primarily warriors, were also seen as sacred protectors of the king, their celibacy and loyalty imbued with spiritual significance, reinforcing the kingdom's cohesion. These dual roles elevated their influence, making them central to both governance and cultural identity. Unconventional warfare tactics set these women apart as ingenious strategists. Nzinga's guerrilla campaigns against the Portuguese relied on espionage and mobility, using spies to infiltrate enemy camps and gather intelligence, allowing her smaller forces to outmaneuver larger armies. Her psychological warfare, like staging elaborate public displays of strength, unnerved colonizers and rallied her people. The Agojie employed similar cunning, using synchronized chants and displays of ferocity to intimidate opponents before battle, a form of psychological dominance that often secured victories without bloodshed. Their night raids and ambushes, honed through rigorous training, disrupted enemy supply lines, showcasing tactical innovation. Yaa Asantewa's sieges on British forts leveraged local knowledge of terrain, turning dense forests into strategic advantages. These methods, blending espionage, deception, and environmental mastery, demonstrate how African female warriors redefined warfare through intellect and creativity. Their bravery reshaped societal structures, challenging and expanding gender norms. The Agojie's prominence in Dahomey elevated women's status, proving they could rival men in military prowess and loyalty, influencing a society where women held roles as traders and administrators. Nzinga's 4-decade rule as a warrior queen normalized female leadership in Dongo and Matamba, inspiring later generations to view women as capable rulers. Yaa Asantewa's leadership in the War of the Golden Stool reinforced the Ashanti tradition of powerful queen mothers, cementing their influence in political and spiritual spheres. These women's successes disrupted patriarchal assumptions, fostering greater respect for female authority and agency within their cultures. The ingenuity and influence of these warriors endure, their legacies urging us to challenge historical erasures. By blending spiritual and political power, employing innovative tactics, and reshaping societal norms, they transcended the battlefield. Their stories, preserved in oral traditions and emerging archaeological records, call for recognition and preservation. These women were architects of resilience, their valor shaping African history and inspiring global movements for equality and justice. The erasure and reclaiming of African female warriors' narratives. The stories of African female warriors like the Dahomey Amazons, Queen Nzinga, and Yaa Asantewaa are monumental, yet they have been systematically erased from mainstream history. Patriarchal biases and colonial narratives sidelined these women, diminishing their roles as military leaders, spiritual guides, and political strategists. Today, a modern resurgence driven by historians, filmmakers, and artists is reclaiming their legacies, bringing these warriors back into global consciousness. Their narratives, rich with courage and ingenuity, are vital for inspiring future generations and understanding the full spectrum of human history. The erasure of these women's stories stems from deeply rooted patriarchal and colonial biases. European chroniclers, shaping historical records during the colonial era, often dismissed African societies as primitive, ignoring the complexity of their gender dynamics. Women like Nzinga, who outwitted Portuguese colonizers with diplomacy and guerrilla tactics, were reduced to footnotes or vilified as anomalies to fit narratives of male dominance. The Agojie, Dahomey's fearsome female regiment, were sensationalized as Amazons by Western observers, their disciplined training and societal roles oversimplified to exotic stereotypes. Yaa Asantewa's leadership in the Ashanti War of the Golden Stool was downplayed in British accounts, which prioritized male figures to align with patriarchal norms. Oral traditions, the primary means of preserving African histories, were disregarded by colonial historians who favored written records, further silencing women's contributions. These biases not only erased individual stories but also obscured the broader reality of African societies where women held significant military, spiritual, and political power. A modern resurgence is now breathing life into these narratives. African and diaspora historians are leading the charge, with scholars like Dr. Sylvia Serbin documenting the Agojie's societal impact in works like The Women Soldiers of Dahomey. Archaeological efforts, such as Nubian inscriptions celebrating Queen Amenirina's, provide tangible evidence of female leadership. Filmmakers are amplifying these stories, with movies like The Woman King, 2022, bringing the Agojie's Valor to global audiences, sparking renewed interest in Dahomey's history. In Angola, Nzinga's legacy is celebrated through statues and cultural festivals, while Ghana honors Yaa Asantewaa with museums and annual commemorations. Artists, too, are reclaiming these narratives. Nigerian painter Kehinde Wiley's portraits and Ghanaian musician Ebo Taylor's songs weave these warriors into contemporary culture. Digital platforms, including African-led podcasts and social media campaigns, share oral histories, making these stories accessible to younger generations. These efforts counter centuries of erasure, restoring the complexity of African women's contributions. The ongoing importance of these narratives lies in their power to inspire and reshape our understanding of history. The courage of Yaa Asantewaa, rallying the Ashanti at 60, offers a model of resilience for modern gender equality movements. Nzinga's diplomatic genius and the Agojie's disciplined sisterhood highlight African women's agency, challenging stereotypes and inspiring leadership in political and cultural spheres. These stories reveal the diversity of human experience, showing that power and valor transcend gender and geography. By reclaiming them, we correct historical imbalances and enrich global heritage, ensuring that Africa's contributions are no longer marginalized. These narratives also empower communities to preserve their oral traditions and advocate for archaeological preservation, safeguarding sites like Dahomey's palaces or Ashanti shrines. Reclaiming these warriors' stories is an act of justice and inspiration. Their erasure by colonial and patriarchal lenses diminished a vibrant history, but today's resurgence, through scholarship, art, and media, restores their rightful place. These women shaped empires, defied oppression, and redefined leadership. Their legacies remind us that understanding the full spectrum of human history requires amplifying the untold, ensuring their valor echoes for generations to come. Their enduring impact and our call to remember. The legacies of African female warriors like the Dahomey Amazons, Queen Nzinga and Yaa Asantewaa resonate powerfully today, fueling a movement to integrate their stories into mainstream historical education and popular culture. Their resilience, strategic brilliance, and unwavering spirit offer timeless lessons for modern challenges, inspiring us to confront injustice and embrace leadership. As we uncover their contributions, we are called to explore more about these remarkable women and other hidden figures, ensuring their impact endures in our collective memory. A future of recognition is unfolding as scholars, educators, and artists push to center these warriors in global narratives. Initiatives like UNESCO's inclusion of Dahomey's history in educational programs and African-led curricula in Ghana and Angola are embedding figures like Yaa Asantewaa and Nzinga in classrooms. Popular culture is amplifying their voices through films like The Woman King and documentaries on Nzinga's diplomacy, sparking global interest. Social media campaigns and podcasts by African creators share oral histories, making these stories accessible. This movement challenges Eurocentric education, demanding that the Agojie's Valor and Nzinga's tactics be taught alongside Western heroes, enriching historical understanding with diverse perspectives. The lessons from these women are profoundly relevant today. The Agojie's disciplined training and sisterhood inspire teamwork and resilience in modern workplaces and activism. Nzinga's blend of diplomacy and guerrilla warfare offers strategies for navigating complex challenges, from political advocacy to community organizing. Yaa Asantewaa's defiance at 60 exemplifies courage in the face of overwhelming odds, encouraging us to stand firm against systemic inequities. Their ability to blend spiritual, political, and military roles models holistic leadership, urging us to approach today's crises, be it climate change or social justice, with creativity and determination. The journey continues, and we must actively seek out these stories. Explore African-led scholarship, visit museums like Ghana's Yaa Asantewaa Museum, or engage with oral histories through digital archives. Uncover other hidden figures, from Queen Amenirina's of Kush to Ethiopia's Empress Taytu, whose victories shaped history. By sharing their stories, We honor their contributions and inspire future generations to challenge erasure and celebrate diversity. These warriors' enduring impact calls us to remember and amplify their legacies. Their courage reshapes how we view leadership and resilience, urging us to integrate their stories into education and culture. Let's continue this journey, uncovering the untold to build a richer, more inclusive history.